Hello, I'm really glad you're here. On this channel, I share simple, quiet stories about life, love, and the little feelings we all go through. If that sounds like something you enjoy, don't forget to subscribe. Every subscriber gives me a little more encouragement to keep telling these stories. Now, let's begin today's story. Winter in Brooklyn was a dry kind of cold. The wind didn't howl like it did in Kiev. It slipped softly through the cracks of old brick buildings, carrying thin dusts of snow and the metallic scent of a city that never truly slept. Anya sat in her small month-to-month apartment, clutching a faded yellow envelope stamped USCIS, Department of Homeland Security, in the corner. It was a Tuesday morning. Snow drifted gently outside the living room window. The heater hadn't turned on yet. The room felt like a forgotten metal box inside a freezer. Anya wore a plum sweater, its sleeves covering most of her palms. But it wasn't enough to keep her trembling hands warm. On the table sat a cup of black tea, long gone cold. An open textbook, Research Methods in Global Affairs, lay beneath a pen left mid-note. Her laptop still displayed the last email she had sent to her academic advisor. Please confirm that the department sent my enrollment verification to USCIS. No reply. The envelope in her hand was no longer cold, yet heavy as stone. Every passing second thickened the ice around her chest. She set it down, looked at it, reached for it, pulled back. And finally, like someone stepping off a cliff with nowhere else to go, she tore it open. The letter was printed, polite, and merciless. We regret to inform you that your request to extend your F1 student visa has been denied due to insufficient documentation. You are required to leave the United States within 30 calendar days from the date of this notice. Anya didn't cry, didn't scream. She lowered her head onto the table, fingers interlaced, cheek pressed against the cool wood. For minutes she didn't move, stone still. Part of her refused to believe. Part of her was calculating. Part of her just wanted to vanish quietly from the world. Outside, a school bus horn echoed in the distance. A pigeon landed on the windowsill, pecking harmlessly at the glass. Life went on. Only Anya's small, fragile world was collapsing. She unlocked her phone and scrolled to Nora's name, her classmate, the one who had said, "If anything ever happens, call me." But she didn't call. She typed, "They denied my visa. I have to leave in 30 days." Then deleted it. She didn't want to turn her friends into witnesses. Her mind flickered through scattered images. Her father in Kiev, who always said, "Never trust any government." Her mother, gone since she was 15, lost to lung cancer. Quiet mornings walking through Prospect Park with a small coffee in hand. The presentation she had aced just last week. Soon, all of it would become memory. The phone rang, making her jump. The screen read, "Law Office of Sandra Klein." Her hand trembled as she answered.
Hello, this is Anya.
Anya, I just checked the system. I'm afraid there's no viable way to appeal your case. You could try filing a stay of removal, but approval is extremely rare, especially when USCIS has already flagged your file for missing verification from the university.
But that was the administration's mistake. I sent everything.
I understand. But right now it's not about whose fault it is. They have the authority to deport you if you overstay.
I can't go back to Ukraine. There's war. And no home left. I have nothing.
I'm so sorry, Anya. I know this is hard. But start preparing to leave the US as soon as possible. The sooner you act, the better your record will look later.
The call ended. For a moment, every sound drained from the room. Only the slow spin of the fan and the ticking of the wall clock remained, counting down. Anya stood up, her legs numb. She opened the closet, pulled out a small grey suitcase, the kind every international student buys at Boryspil Airport. She unzipped it. Inside lay a folded note her mother had tucked in before she left for America. "Go see the world, but don't forget where your heart is." She sank beside the suitcase. For the first time since reading the letter, she cried. Not out of fear, but from the hollow ache of losing something she had built piece by piece. Not just a career, but a sense of belonging. That night, she didn't turn on the lights, didn't eat. She just curled up on the couch, a thin blanket around her shoulders, watching the streetlights glow ripple across the ceiling. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew this. If there was even a faint thread of hope left, she would hold on to it. The next afternoon, the pale winter light slipped into the tiny apartment through frosted glass. Anya woke with a pounding headache, her eyes still burning from a night spent in tears. She tried not to look at the USCIS envelope still sitting on the table like an unserved sentence. She stepped into the kitchen and turned on the tap. But as the faucet opened, a stream of murky brown water sputtered out with a strange gurgling sound. The floor quickly dotted with water. Startled, she crouched down and opened the cabinet under the sink. A thin line of leakage ran along the pipe. She tried twisting the valve, but everything was tangled like a puzzle she couldn't solve. One thought crossed her mind. What now? She called the building manager. Useless. The voicemail answered in a cold, recorded tone. Then, out of a kind of weary reflex, she sat down on the floor, staring blankly at the dripping water. That's when a knock sounded at the door. 2 short taps, 1 long. Knock, knock, knock.
Sorry, I'm downstairs. My ceiling's dripping like a broken espresso maker. Do you have a problem with your pipes?
The voice was deep and rough, like winter wind. Anya stood up, hesitating. She was wearing a wrinkled sweater, her hair loosely tied, face pale. Still, she unlocked the door. Standing outside was a man in his early 30s. Old leather jacket, grey beanie pulled low over his forehead, faded jeans, work boots smudged with mud. He had that weathered look. Not careless, just someone who had lived through too many hard days.
I'm Chris, apartment 2B.
Anya, 3A.
I know a bit about fixing things. Mind if I take a look at the leak?
She nodded, avoiding his eyes, stepping back. He slipped off his boots on the mat, a strangely polite gesture for someone so rugged, and went straight to the kitchen as if he'd done this 100 times. Chris knelt down, pulling a small flashlight and wrench from his jacket. The light glinted off a simple paracord bracelet on his left wrist. His movements were quick, precise, practiced.
Do you know who installed this? It's completely backward. The water's supposed to flow down. This thing's trying to run sideways.
I rent the place. It's been like that since I moved in.
How long you been here?
A year.
Then you've got stamina. I've been here 5. The management's so bad, I think they might actually be extinct.
He let out a quiet laugh. Anya smiled back, her first real smile in 2 dark days.
You're not American, are you?
Ukraine.
Kyiv.
Near enough.
You live alone?
Yeah. I'm doing my master's at NYU. International Relations.
Sounds important.
Not anymore.
She stopped. Chris looked at her, not with curiosity or pity, just silence, waiting.
I just got a letter from USCIS. My visa was denied. I have to leave the US in 30 days.
Chris exhaled softly. The kind of sigh that comes from hearing too many bad stories and still not knowing how to make them right.
I hate those laws. I had a friend once worked with me at a pizza shop. They kicked her back to Brazil because she typed the wrong birth date. They don't need a good reason. They just need a reason.
He tightened the pipe joint, wiped his hands with a rag, then stood up, stretching his shoulders like he'd just finished a small battle.
There. It's fixed for now. But if you don't call a real plumber, it'll start leaking again tomorrow. I'm just a part-time handyman.
Thank you. I'll figure something out.
No worries. I owe the 3rd floor one anyway.
What do you mean?
I used to live on the 4th. My ex dropped an entire fish tank once. Flooded the floor. The water leaked straight into someone's ceiling. Might have been yours. Or someone just as unlucky.
Anya laughed, louder this time. Not because it was funny, but because it had been so long since she'd talked to someone without feeling judged.
If you need anything, I'm downstairs. The door with the photo of the dog wearing sunglasses. That's Rocky, my blind dog. He doesn't bark at people, only at air.
Rocky, got it, I'll remember.
And don't hesitate to knock. I'm not much of a helper, but if you need something fixed, I charge cheap.
How cheap?
1 cup of tea, or a slice of Ukrainian bread, if it's good.
I'll find the traditional recipe.
Chris smiled, nodded, and stepped toward the door.
Good luck with everything.
He left. But the faint smell of oil and the warmth of his presence lingered in the kitchen. The heater was still cold, yet the apartment no longer felt frozen. Anya looked at the dry sink, resting her hand on its edge as if to make sure it was real. For the first time in 24 hours, she felt not entirely alone. The next day, rain began to drizzle over Brooklyn. The first snow of the season had melted into cold water that clung to the bus rail, sliding down Anya's wrist like slow, reluctant seconds. That morning, she got an unexpected call from Nora, her best friend and classmate in the master's program at NYU. Nora, a Colombian American, was talkative, sharp, and always seemed to know everything happening on campus, including the fact that Anya's visa had been denied.
Anya, it's me. I just heard from the International Student Office about your visa. Oh my God, why didn't you call me?
I didn't know what to say. I feel ashamed.
Ashamed? Of what? You're the smartest person in our class. Listen, I know someone who can help. Her name's Marta. She used to be an undocumented student, now she helps others stay under the radar. You have to meet her. I'll text you the address. Don't say no, Anya, please.
And so, that night, Anya got off the bus at the corner of Atlantic and Bond, her beanie pulled low over her face as she hurried through the cold rain that drummed like iron fingertips against tin roofs. The cafe had no sign, no neon lights, just a black wooden door tucked between a shoe repair shop and an Arab convenience store. She knocked twice, then once. Exactly as instructed. The door cracked open to reveal a small woman with warm brown skin and tight curls tied high, her wary eyes sharp with habit.
Anya?
Yes, that's me.
Come in, keep your coat on, it's freezing.
Inside, the place felt oddly alive. Soft amber light, the scent of milky coffee mixed with the damp musk of old brick walls, and the faint trace of peppermint oil drifting from a diffuser. About 15 people sat scattered around, all colours, all faces, tired, alert, hopeful. No one spoke loudly. Jazz hummed gently through the speakers. On a chalkboard, someone had written, "No one is illegal, only systems are." Marta led Anya to a small table. Sitting there was a woman in her 40s, kind-faced, with eyes that had clearly survived fire. Her name was Letitia, once detained by ICE for nearly 3 months, now a coordinator for the community support sessions.
Anya, right? Marta told me you just got your visa extension denied.
Yes, I'm a master's student. But the school sent the paperwork late. They said there's nothing they can do.
They always say that. They're not the ones who get deported.
She placed a stack of papers in front of Anya.
These are your options. File a stay of removal, apply for advanced parole, or marry a U.S. citizen. I don't recommend it, but I won't lie. For many here, that's the only reason they're still in this country.
I don't think I can. I don't want to fake it.
No one wants to, but when you are backed against the wall, the word moral starts to come in shades.
A middle-aged black man named Jean-Luc, once a chef from Haiti, chimed in from the next table.
I married a laundromat owner to stay. 3 years, nobody was happy. But now I have a house, a green card, and I still send money home to my mom.
A girl with blue hair in the corner spoke up.
I married a guy I met online, paid $3 grand, but when the interview came, he vanished. I almost got deported. Don't trust those guaranteed marriage services.
Anya stayed quiet, her eyes fixed on the cup of mint tea in her hands. Every story felt like a warped mirror. All survival, no beauty, no love, only fear, calculation, and endurance. Marta looked at her as if she could read her thoughts.
I used to think fake marriage was wrong, but once I got arrested because my residency expired. I was so terrified. I would have married a stranger rather than go back to the place where I almost got shot.
Letitia slid a small card across the table.
If you decide, contact this person. A good lawyer. Not cheap, but honest.
Thank you. I need to think.
As she stood to leave, Jean-Luc called out from behind her.
You got anyone in America? Family?
No one.
Then you need a reason to stay. Fast. Because this system, it doesn't love anybody.
Anya stepped out into the street, her heart tangled like a mess of wires. The Brooklyn sky was still dark. Snow began to fall again, softly, quietly, like the sigh of a city that never knows who it will lose tomorrow. A day after the meeting at the underground cafe, Anya didn't leave her apartment. Brooklyn stayed the color of ash. Snow fell thin but sharp, clinging to the window pane like frost that refused to melt. She sat by the window, holding a cup of black tea, watching the crowd below. Everyone rushing somewhere, everyone belonging somewhere. On the table lay a small business card she hadn't dared to call, and a silver-framed photo her mother had mailed from Ukraine last year. A young Anya, perched on her father's shoulders in a wheat field, her mother standing behind them, long hair whipping in the wind, eyes both strong and tender. Her mother had died when she was 15. Lung cancer, sudden, without goodbyes. She grew up with her father, a quiet farmer, and an emptiness that never filled. When she was little and did something wrong, her mother would say, "It's okay. What matters is that you get back up." Now she wished she could hear that voice again, just once, in this foreign country where her future had been cut short by a single piece of paper. A knock sounded. 3 steady, deliberate beats. Knock, knock, knock. Anya stood and opened the door. Chris stood there in a faded denim jacket, a paper bag in his hand, and at his feet, Rocky, the blind dog, scratching his ear in silence.
I baked banana bread. Made too much. Save me from eating this for breakfast all week?
As long as you're not the kind of person who puts ketchup on banana bread, I'll try.
I'm not a criminal, Anya.
Good, but I'll still check.
She smiled and stepped aside. Chris walked in, Rocky following like a breeze that knew the way. They sat in the kitchen, where the heat from the radiator spread softly, mingling with the scent of banana and cinnamon. She poured tea. He brewed coffee. The silence between them wasn't heavy, just 2 people trying to find a place in the quiet corners of each other's day.
You look not great.
I'm tired. My head, my body, but still here.
Being still here counts as a win in this city.
Anya chuckled faintly. Her eyes were still red but held a trace more light.
I met a group that helps immigrants. They said, if I want to stay, I might need to marry a US citizen. It sounds simple, but I'm not the kind of person who does that just to survive.
The thing is, sometimes surviving is the only thing you can do.
I know, but I always thought if I ever hit rock bottom, at least I'd still have my dignity.
Chris stayed silent for a moment. He took a sip of coffee, set the cup down, and looked straight at her.
If you need to get married to stay, marry me.
The room froze, as if even the snow outside had stopped midair.
What?
I'm serious. I'm single. A citizen, no strings. I've got a place, a dog, and time. If that keeps you from getting deported, why not?
You don't have to do that.
I know, but I know what it feels like to be crushed by a system. I once lost my job for refusing to work unpaid overtime. I made it through. If I can help someone else make it too, that's not a loss to me.
Anya looked at him, eyes doubtful yet glistening.
You know, if we get caught, both of us could be in trouble.
Yeah, but I once lived 3 years with someone I didn't love, just because I was afraid of being alone. That was the real crime.
Rocky gave a low grunt, either in agreement or in protest at the radiator's hum. Anya glanced down at her mother's photo, as if seeking permission.
Why would you do this? For me?
Because no one should be exiled from a dream they haven't had the chance to live.
Silence filled the room again, but this time it was warm, like an old blanket pulled fresh from the dryer on the coldest night.
I can't promise anything, but Give me one night to think.
Of course, just don't take too long. Rocky hates cliffhangers.
Faint light slipped through the frosted glass, staining the small dining table with a dull gold. The apartment was silent, except for the radiator tapping rhythmically against the wooden floor, like it was checking if someone's heart was still beating. Anya sat on the sofa, legs tucked beneath a thin wool blanket, holding a cup of tea long gone cold. She hadn't slept all night, not from fear. Her mind simply wouldn't stop running, leaping from one plan to another, one scenario to the next. She thought she could stay rational, but every road led to a dead end, except one. Chris. She looked toward the table where her mother's photo tilted slightly as if nodding. In the early light, her mother's eyes seemed almost alive, not looking into the camera but directly at her, waiting. Anya stood up. No makeup, no coat. She opened the door and walked down the creaking wooden hallway to the apartment below. 2B. 3 knocks. Knock, knock, knock. The door opened. Chris stood there in a wrinkled grey t-shirt, hair tousled from sleep, a steaming mug of coffee in hand. Rocky squeezed through the gap, nudging her leg as if to ask, "So, have you decided?"
I don't want to do something crazy, but if I don't, I'll regret it for the rest of my life.
Chris didn't answer right away. He stepped aside.
Come in.
His apartment looked the same as before. Simple, clean, but with the quiet mess of someone who lives alone. The air smelled faintly of coffee, dish soap, and dog hair. Anya sat down. Chris took the seat across from her. Between them was a worn wooden table, its surface marked with faint burn spots.
I thought about it all night, and I need help. If your offer still stands,
I haven't taken it back. Haven't changed my mind either.
then let's do it. But I have conditions.
I'm listening.
This can't be a cold transaction. I don't pay you, and you don't owe me anything. If either of us feels it's too much, we stop, no matter where we are in the process.
I can live with that. I don't want either of us trapped in a performance.
I know an immigration lawyer. She can walk us through the process. We'll need to file the marriage license, create evidence, photos together, a shared account, same address.
Same bed?
Not necessary. But maybe. We watch Netflix together, so we at least know each other's favorite shows.
I like true crime documentaries. You?
Comedies. They stop me from crying. Guess we'll both learn something.
They laughed. Not the awkward kind, but the kind that feels like crossing an old wooden bridge without it breaking.
Where did we meet? First time?
In the elevator, 3rd floor. I was holding a bunch of wilted flowers. You asked, "Birthday gift?" I said, "No, they're for my mother's grave." You didn't say anything. Just held the door open till we reached the lobby.
I remember. That wasn't the first time I noticed you.
Anya blinked, surprised. Her gaze softened.
Then, this Monday, the courthouse reopens. We'll file the marriage license. I'll handle the paperwork. Do you even own a dress shirt?
Haven't worn one since my uncle's funeral, but it's still white.
That'll do. I'm not wearing a wedding dress.
Why not?
Because this isn't the wedding I dreamed of. It's just how I get to keep a piece of my life.
And if that piece turns out bigger than you planned?
Then I'll owe you a thank you. A real one.
Chris extended his hand. No formality, no pressure. Just a quiet agreement between two souls on the edge.
A survival pact?
Anya placed her hand in his. Warm, rough, steady. She nodded.
A survival pact.
And in that moment, between two strangers, no one spoke of love. But something very close to it took root. Monday morning in Brooklyn was crisp and cool, but the sunlight was rare and bright, the kind that made even old things seem to breathe again. Anya wore a long cream dress with a high collar and fitted sleeves. No veil, no flowers. Just a pair of worn leather boots and a tight-lipped smile that seemed to guard something fragile inside her chest. Chris wore a white shirt, black jeans, and the same shoes he'd worn to his uncle's funeral. He'd cut his own hair the night before, one side slightly uneven but clean. They took the subway to the marriage bureau in downtown Brooklyn. Neither spoke much. The train wasn't crowded. A few elderly passengers, a young Spanish couple laughing softly, and a girl with headphones dozing off. Anya looked down at her hands. Bare. No ring. Chris thought of Rocky, who'd been left home that morning and had clearly disapproved. The ceremony took place in a room no larger than half a kitchen, lit by humming fluorescent lights and smelling faintly of printer ink. A clerk in an olive-green suit spoke in a flat, automated tone. "Your name is Christopher Mason. Your name is Anya Polyakova. Are you both here of your own free will to be legally married?" They nodded, signed, took the paper. No one said, "I do." When they stepped outside, sunlight poured down the concrete steps. A soft breeze lifted Anya's hair. She pulled her scarf tighter around her neck and stood still for a moment. There was no applause, no family, no bouquet, yet strangely she didn't feel empty.
Hungry?
A little.
You want wedding cake?
Only if it doesn't have buttercream.
I know a place in Greenpoint. Best banana bread in the city. Not saying mine's bad, but maybe today someone else should do the baking.
They walked a few blocks, then stopped at a tiny bakery. Chris bought 2 slices of banana bread, a black coffee for himself and ginger tea for her, before they took it home. Anya's apartment was chosen as the place where the marriage would begin. Its windows caught more light and the stove didn't leak gas. On the small dining table in the glow of late morning sat 2 plates of banana bread, 2 steaming mugs and a marriage certificate. They sat down. No toast, no music. But there was something in the air, something that almost felt like a promise.
Should we take a photo?
Yes, so we remember this wasn't a joke.
Chris opened the front camera. They leaned their heads close, not smiling, just looking straight into the lens. Click. The photo captured a woman with eyes that had seen too much and a man with a gaze more serious than usual. No sparkle, but honest.
Send it to the shared email. I'll open our joint account this afternoon.
I'll bring my stuff tonight. Might as well move in so USCIS believes we actually live together.
I'll clear the right-hand closet for you.
I'm bringing the coffee machine and Rocky.
Dog gets priority. Coffee machine. We'll see.
They laughed, and in that brief sound, light, unforced, something warm slipped quietly into both of them. No vows, no guarantees, but real. Tuesday night. The small apartment now carried the quiet weight of 2 people live here. Chris's clothes hung beside Anya's in the closet. A grey toothbrush stood next to a pink one in the ceramic cup. And Rocky's food bowl sat under the counter. Permanent. No longer needing a reminder. On the table, a thick stack of papers lay between them. Anya wore glasses, red pen in hand. Chris sat across from her, sipping a beer, wearing the look of a man taking an exam he hadn't studied for.
Question 17. Where did we first meet?
In the elevator on the 3rd floor. I asked if you needed help with the flowers. You said they were for your mother's grave.
Wrong, not grave. It was balcony, because it was my mother's birthday.
Right, I remembered the gloomy version.
USCIS likes touching details, not tragic ones. Next.
She drew a neat red line on the page.
Question 23. Who said I love you first?
Me, after you made me that, buttery pasta thing.
Cavatappi.
Yeah, that. I thought if you could cook Italian food without burning it, you deserved love.
Wrong again. I didn't cook Italian. I hate Italian. It was boxed pasta. I just added butter.
So my love was based on lies?
Welcome to American marriage.
They both laughed. Rocky sneezed, seemingly disapproving.
Okay, next. Scenario question. One evening, I'm mad because you forgot our anniversary. What do you do?
I'd tell you I didn't forget. I was planning a surprise for the next day. Take you to the beach. Strawberries, white wine, some Ukrainian song you like.
Name of the song?
Don't remember, but it's got a violin and a high female voice.
You just saved yourself with good improvisation.
I think we should just have a real fight instead. Easier to remember.
Anya lowered her pen and leaned on the table.
Fine, let's fight. I'll start. Why didn't you wash the dishes yesterday like you said?
I worked all day. You could wash them once, can't you?
Oh, you worked? I worked too. And I cooked, cleaned, and took care of your dog.
My dog? Rocky's been sleeping with you all week.
They froze, then burst out laughing.
We'll do great in the interview.
Or we'll actually break up during rehearsal.
A pause. Chris took another sip of beer, then said casually,
You hate romance movies, right?
Yeah, bad scripts, dumb characters. And no one eats breakfast that pretty every day.
Same. I dated a girl once who made me watch The Notebook 3 times.
I went out with a guy who took me to see Me Before You, just to see if I'd cry. I fell asleep.
I'll never make you watch a romance movie.
And I'll never make fake Italian pasta again.
They laughed again, then stopped. Their eyes met this time, steady, unguarded. Chris spoke first.
Last night, you slipped mint candies into my jacket pocket. Why?
You were coughing all afternoon.
I didn't think you noticed.
I notice more than I admit.
A soft silence settled, not awkward, just honest.
We should keep practicing. I have to call the lawyer tomorrow.
Yeah, but I'm starting to think maybe we don't have to act that much.
Maybe not.
Why?
Because the more we act, the harder it gets to tell what's real.
Brooklyn at night never really sleeps, but the third-floor apartment felt like an island of stillness in a desert of noise. Anya sat alone by the window. Streetlight cut through the frosted glass, a thin blade of gold sliding across her cheek. In her hands was a cup of ginger tea. On the table, a small wooden frame. The frame had once been kept in a drawer. Now it sat neatly beside the USCIS folder. Inside, a 6-year-old Anya sat on her father's shoulders in a wheat field in Ukraine. Her mother stood beside them, long hair tied low, earth still clinging to her hands. She wasn't smiling, just looking straight into the camera. Anya stared back at those eyes she had once feared, then missed, and now could no longer let herself forget. Her mother had died when she was 15, right after a bitter winter. No warnings, no last embrace. In the days that followed, her father said almost nothing, as if silence could stop grief from growing. But it grew anyway. Chris stepped out of the bedroom, wearing a t-shirt, holding a white ceramic mug.
Can't sleep?
I don't usually sleep early. Back home, I used to stay up reading out, or just doing nothing at all.
If I don't sleep early, I start thinking too much, and usually about the wrong things.
So what are you thinking about now?
Chris sat on the edge of the sofa. The light from the window brushed up across his face.
I'm thinking about how you make tea at the exact same time every night, even when no one asks.
Habit. Tea was the last thing my mother could still drink. So I kept it.
She paused, not sad, not smiling, just the kind of stillness that feels like a small knife pressing against a healed scar.
My mom used to wake up early to bake bread, but she'd always forget I was allergic to butter, I guess. She loved me, just in a messy way.
Sometimes messy is the only kind of love we get.
Silence followed. The air wasn't cold, but it wasn't warm either. Only the hiss of the radiator and the distant sound of cars below.
Do you ever feel like you're sitting right next to something, yet oceans away?
All the time, even when that something is a person.
Their eyes met, longer than usual. Not love, not yet, but something that looked a lot like recognition.
We might fool USs, but can we fool ourselves?
I don't know. Maybe. Sometimes surviving is the most honest thing we can do.
Rocky padded out from the bedroom, nudged his head against Chris's leg, then lay down between them, as if to remind them that sometimes you don't need words to feel someone's presence. Anya poured more tea without asking. Chris lifted his mug and poured for himself. They sat there, wordless. A night without arguments, without rehearsing interview answers, without pretending to be married. Just two people, close, yet still oceans apart. Saturday morning. Early spring sunlight spilled through the tall windows of Le Petit Grain on Bedford Avenue, stretching long golden stripes across the oak floor. The air smelled of espresso, melted butter, and old French music, a combination that felt familiar to Anya. Not quite home, but close enough for her to stay still. She was working the morning shift, hand pouring almond milk, eyes scanning the slow line of customers, mind wandering to the upcoming USCIS interview. Part of her wanted it over quickly. Another part, the one she didn't name, feared what might happen if it became too real. At the window table sat Luke, the French photographer, tall, lean, in a turtleneck sweater with a vintage Leica hanging from his neck. He liked to talk to Anya in that teasing, half-flirtatious way of his. He came nearly every weekend and always ordered a flat white.
Anya, today you look like you've stepped out of a 1960s French film.
I guess the messy hair helps the effect.
No, it's the light. You reflect it beautifully.
So you're looking at me like a white wall?
No, like a frame no one's had the courage to capture yet.
They laughed. Not loudly, not politely, but the kind of laugh shared by two people who understand boundaries and still like to walk close to the edge. The cafe door swung open. Chris walked in. Denim jacket, hands in pockets, hair tousled as if he'd just rolled out of bed. He spotted her and headed straight to the counter. Anya smiled when she saw him.
Told you I'd be right. You did forget your coat.
Right on time. Rocky's probably tearing up a pillow because there's no one to throw the ball.
Or sniffing your shoes by the heater.
Luke looked up, voice calm and light.
Boyfriend.
Husband, the kind who shows up without knocking.
Anya frowned slightly but didn't interrupt. Luke set down his cup and nodded.
Ah, I didn't know you were married.
Not something I usually bring to work.
She likes to let people guess, adds drama.
Luke glanced at Chris, polite but appraising.
I have a photo exhibition in Dumbo this Sunday. If you're free, you should stop by. There'll be wine and live music.
Before Chris could answer, Anya spoke.
Thank you. I'll check my schedule.
Chris smirked slightly.
And Rocky might need some wine, too, to forget being left alone all weekend.
Luke chuckled, half genuine, half social, then stood and lifted his camera.
Pleasure meeting you. Both. See you soon, Anya.
Hope your lighting's as flattering as your compliments.
Luke left. The door chimed softly. Chris turned back to Anya, his tone no longer playful.
He looked at you like you've never belonged to anyone.
I'm not something to belong to. You know that.
I do. But I also know what it feels like when someone thinks they can walk into a space that's already occupied.
For a few seconds, neither spoke. Outside, the wind blew a scrap of paper across the street. Anya turned away and wiped the counter.
You just came to bring my coat.
Not exactly. There's something I thought you should know.
What is it?
Rachel texted me. Not sure why. Just asked, "Are you doing okay?" Looks like she knows about us.
Does she know who I am?
Maybe. Someone might have told her, or social media. I haven't replied.
Are you going to see her?
I don't know, but I figured you should hear it from me, not last.
Anya nodded slightly. Chris turned to leave, then paused.
And, if I was a little harsh before, maybe it's because you don't just reflect light for the camera.
He left the cafe. Anya stood behind the counter, her fingers brushing the rim of Luke's half-finished cup. The milk foam still clung to the sides. A slow waltz began to play through the speakers. Outside, Brooklyn went on as usual, only her heartbeat didn't. Saturday night in Brooklyn was unusually warm and damp. The wind drifted along rows of old brick buildings, carrying faint jazz from a small bar at the end of the street called the Silver Lantern. Out back, string lights glowed gold across wooden tables and curved iron chairs, the kind of intimacy that didn't need to be explained. Chris had arrived early. He cleared the old wine bottles off the shelves, asked the staff to turn the music down just enough to breathe, and gave one specific instruction: keep the lights soft. He wanted everything to look real, just as their lawyer had advised. When Anya walked in, she barely recognized the place that was usually loud and chaotic. She wore a long, ash-grey dress with a beige cardigan over it. Her hair was tied low, neat. No makeup, but her cheeks were warm from the night air.
You said this was just for USCIS photos. I didn't expect a whole production.
The lawyer said lighting matters. They need to see we're living real lives, and you know, things look more genuine under warm light.
So we're faking authenticity now.
Exactly.
She smiled and stepped closer to the table. 2 glasses of wine, a jar of dried flowers, a small cake, and a digital camera already set up on a tripod.
You set up the camera too.
Relax. It's on a timer. All you have to do is smile, or at least look like you can tolerate me for another year.
I can fake that. No promises beyond a year, though.
They both laughed. Chris poured the wine and handed her a glass.
To the things we're pretending, that might be turning real.
To the things that are real, that we're still pretending aren't.
They clinked glasses. Their eyes met, longer this time, and there was no laughter waiting behind it. Anya sat. Chris adjusted the camera, then joined her. The timer blinked. The light flashed. They posed, smiling, leaning close, cutting the cake.
Next shot. You're feeding me cake?
Not in the script.
Improvisation keeps it natural.
She scooped a small bite, held it out. Chris leaned in, but instead of eating, he brushed his lips softly against the back of her hand. No one spoke. The camera had stopped shooting, yet both of them knew that was the first moment they weren't acting. They sat in silence, the wine nearly gone. Anya leaned back in her chair.
When I was little, my mother used to say, "Don't love the one who makes your heart race. Love the one who makes it breathe easy."
I'm not sure I make you breathe easy.
No, but you make me want to learn how to breathe somewhere new.
Chris didn't answer. The next song began. An acoustic guitar version of Can't Help Falling in Love. A few couples stood to dance under the lights. Chris looked around, then rose and held out his hand.
The evening still has one scene left.
You know I can't dance.
Good. I can't lead. If we mess up at the same time, maybe that's the truest part.
She laughed and stood. Their hands touched. Light at first, then steady. Chris rested his hand on her back. They didn't really dance, just swayed softly to the rhythm, close enough to feel each other's breath. No one watched. No one needed to. When the song ended, they still hadn't let go. They left the Silver Lantern just before 11. No taxis, no rush. Just a quiet Brooklyn night. A few late walkers, the soft breath of spring air carrying the faint scent of wood smoke from the pizza place down the block. Chris and Anya walked side by side. Not holding hands, but not keeping distance either. Each could hear the other's footsteps, and somewhere in the silence between them, there was something else, unnamed, but present.
Do you think we acted well tonight?
I think a few scenes weren't in the script.
Like what?
The cake, the dance, the way you looked at me when I smiled, and the part with your lips.
Chris stopped. They were standing under a bare maple tree. The streetlight cast a faint gold glow through her hair. Anya stopped too, turning to face him.
I didn't mean to do that. It just happened.
I know. I didn't mean to smile like that either.
They looked at each other. Longer than usual. No camera, no USCIS, no reason left to pretend. Chris lifted a hand, brushing a loose strand of hair from her cheek.
I'm not sure. I want this to stay just a marriage on paper.
Silence stretched between them. The breeze tugged lightly at Anya's dress. She looked at him, not smiling, not blinking, just breathing slow.
Then what are you planning to turn it into?
Chris didn't answer with words. He leaned in and kissed her, softly, like a question, and Anya didn't pull away. She tilted her head, closed her eyes. The kiss wasn't long or rushed, but it was there first. Not for evidence, not for a plan, simply because they couldn't not. When they parted, they stayed close. Their breath hung between them, warm in the cool night air.
I don't know which part of the file this belongs to.
Maybe the unlisted emotional appendix.
She laughed quietly, though her eyes shimmered.
If we don't pass the interview, I'll have to leave the US.
If you go, I'll go too.
Don't say that. Don't make this too real.
Anya, nothing's more real than this.
They fell silent again, then kept walking, this time hand in hand. Sunday afternoon. Brooklyn was windless and still. Sunlight slanted through the apartment window, casting the pattern of the curtain's mesh across the wall. Anya was folding the blanket, fixing the bed. Rocky lay quietly on the wooden floor, his head resting against her ankle, as if he too sensed that something was off. On the dining table, a phone began to ring. Anya stepped out of the bedroom, drying her hands as she looked down at the screen. The caller ID read, El Estrada, immigration attorney. She answered. On the other end, Letitia's voice sounded sharper, faster than usual.
Anya, we need to talk right now. Something's happened.
What is it?
I just got a notice from USCIS. Your file's been flagged for a review for fraud, a marriage fraud investigation.
Fraud?
Someone filed an official complaint 2 weeks ago. USCIS has opened an inquiry, and from what I've heard, someone's already been to your building.
What?
They don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they pose as delivery people or ask questions to the landlord. They observe to see if there's proof of cohabitation.
Anya sank into the chair. She remembered a man standing quietly in the hallway a few days back, looking toward her door. She'd assumed he had the wrong apartment. She'd just come back from the store, Rocky barking behind her, and the man had turned away.
I think someone was watching the apartment last week.
That's exactly how they do it. And yesterday, I received an email notice. You and Chris are being officially summoned for an interview next week.
Anya gripped the phone tighter.
Chris doesn't know. I need to call him.
Tell him right away. And Anya, don't panic. Nothing's final yet. But from now on, every move you make can be noted. Don't mention this to anyone in the building. Keep your paperwork ready. I'll email you detailed instructions tonight.
I understand. Thank you.
Anya, I've seen people come through worse than this, but they only make it if they stay calm and if what they have is real.
When the call ended, Anya sat still for a long time. Rocky walked over and nudged her hand with his nose. She stroked his fur, forcing herself to breathe evenly. Letitia's last words echoed in her head. If what they have is real. 15 minutes later, Chris came in carrying a paper bag and a cup of coffee.
I got you a cinnamon roll. Easy to eat, easy to sleep on. You haven't slept well in days.
Anya looked up. Her eyes said everything the words hadn't yet.
Chris, we've been reported.
Chris froze, the bag still in his hand.
What?
Someone filed an official complaint 2 weeks ago. USCIS has already been investigating. Quietly. They've been watching us.
What did they say?
Letitia called. We're being summoned. Officially. Probably next week.
Chris slowly set the bag down on the table. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the window pane. Something had shifted. This was no longer an immigration plan. It was a battle. And losing could mean not just deportation, but losing each other.
Who could have done this?
I don't know. But whoever it is, they know a lot. They know how we live. Maybe. They've been watching us every day.
Then we don't let them win.
Chris stepped closer and placed his hand on her shoulder. At that moment, there was no more pretending. Just two people standing on the edge between love and legality, knowing that if they weren't honest now, there'd be nothing left to hold on to. The night they got the call from Letitia, Anya didn't eat dinner. Chris made pasta, but neither of them touched it. They just sat there, staring at each other. Then at the subpoena lying in the middle of the table like a breathing piece of evidence. When the clock struck 7, the doorbell rang. Chris got up to open it. Letitia stood there, sharp and composed. The kind of woman who had no time for sentiment, yet was the only person who could stop their freefall.
We have 5 days. The better we use them, the higher your chances of survival.
She sat down, opened her briefcase, spread out documents, and booted up her laptop. Anya sat beside her, hands clenched tight. Chris stood behind her, one hand resting lightly on her shoulder.
They didn't summon you just because of the complaint. They'd been watching already, maybe cameras, maybe neighbors. Even the tiniest details could matter.
What will they ask us?
Everything. What time you go to bed, who turns off the lights, who sets the alarm, whose toothbrush is which color, which side of the sink your cups are on.
Chris raised an eyebrow, exhaled sharply, a quiet curse under his breath. Anya lowered her gaze.
But this isn't about acting. This is about living. If what you have is real, those little fragments of daily life will be your strongest defense.
Chris sat down, picked up a pen, opened his notebook. Anya glanced at him, then back at Letitia.
I never thought I'd have to study my own life like it's an exam.
That's exactly what it is. USCIS doesn't care if you're in love. They care if you're real.
She typed quickly, the screen glowing against her face.
I've already submitted updated evidence. The photos from the silver lantern, pictures with the dog, the utility bills, the lease, but those are just the surface. What they'll really watch is how you look at each other when no one's filming.
We'll make it through.
Letitia looked up at him and nodded, half encouragement, half test.
Starting tomorrow, we'll rehearse every question, separately, then together. I'll come by every evening. And, Chris, if you truly care about Anya, don't let her carry the whole weight alone.
Chris took Anya's hand under the table. Her fingers were cold, but she didn't pull away.
If I fail the interview, if they don't believe us.
They won't deny it on the spot, but the case could be suspended, moved to the Special Investigations Unit, and you, Anya, might receive a deportation notice after that.
The room went silent. Rocky got up, circling Chris's chair as if trying to scatter the heaviness in the air. Letitia shut her laptop and stood.
I'll be back tomorrow at 7 with the mock questions. Eat something, drink water, and don't let fear make you say the wrong thing. Just believe what you're saying and the person sitting next to you.
She left. Chris closed the door. They looked at each other, and for the first time in weeks, there was no line between pretend and real, only a shared fear and a single choice: stand together or fall apart. Monday night. Letitia arrived right on time. She brought a stack of printed sample questions, more than 10 pages long. The questions didn't sound like love, they sounded like a consumer behavior survey. Chris made coffee. Anya tied her hair back neatly and sat across from him, the two of them looking like students about to take an oral exam.
I'll ask the questions. You answer one at a time. No prompting, no glancing at each other.
She flipped through the pages and began.
Question 1. Who wakes up first in the morning?
I do.
Chris.
Letitia nodded slightly and continued.
Question 2. What brand of toothpaste does your partner use?
Crest. Mild mint.
The white tube with the mint leaf on it. Can't remember the name.
Letitia made a note.
Question 3. What does your partner usually wear to sleep?
She wears an old gray t-shirt, the one with the pine tree print. Sometimes socks.
He sleeps shirtless. Always throws one leg over the pillow. Just like Rocky.
Chris looked up, eyebrows raised, then chuckled. Letitia didn't.
Be serious. USCIS doesn't care if you find it funny. They care if the details match.
We're trying.
Question 4. When did you first meet each other's parents?
Haven't. My parents live in Florida.
I've only seen a picture of his mum. The one on the shelf, in the white dress by the beach. I don't know when I'll actually meet her.
Chris turned to her, surprised.
You noticed that photo?
You said she hated being photographed, but you kept that one because she smiled for real.
Neither of them spoke for a few seconds. Letitia kept writing, then set the page aside.
Now, essay question. Describe a recent moment when you felt your life together was real.
That night at the bar. When I saw him dancing, I knew. I didn't want that to be the ending.
When you had that detergent allergy, your nose went red like a tomato. But you laughed and said, "At least I'm not allergic to you."
Anya smiled faintly, cheeks flushing. Letitia looked at them, this time her eyes softer, though her tone stayed firm.
They won't ask questions like that. But when you look at each other, USCIS will see what no photograph can capture.
She packed up her files and stood.
The day after tomorrow, we'll do separate mock interviews. And Chris, Anya, remember this. The truth is the only thing you never have to memorize.
She left. The room felt smaller again. Just two people and a crumpled pile of papers. Chris poured her more water and sat down beside her.
We're learning how to live truthfully, right?
No. We're remembering things we never really forgot.
Chris looked at her. Silent, but with a gaze that said everything he still couldn't say out loud. The interview day arrived sooner than fear could prepare for. They walked into the USCIS Brooklyn office, greeted by the chill of fluorescent lights, the smell of new paper, disinfectant, and quiet tension. After security checks, they surrendered their phones and personal items, then entered a large room with a long table and 3 chairs facing them. The lead officer was a middle-aged man with glasses, serious but not unkind. Beside him sat 2 others, one handling documents, the other verifying records.
Good morning, Anya K. and Christopher M. Thank you for being on time. I'll be conducting your interview today.
Anya and Chris sat down. Her hands tightened together. Her heart felt pinned by needles. Beneath the table, he found her hand and held it.
First question. Please state your current address and describe month by month how long you've lived there since your marriage.
Chris glanced at the lease agreement for precision, then answered. Anya filled in the rest.
Who paid the rent during the first months?
They both replied. They split it evenly, though Chris covered more at first to ease the pressure. The officer took notes without expression.
Next, what brand and color is your wife's toothbrush?
Anya cleared her throat, recalling. Chris stayed still, ready to back her up, but silent.
Crest. Mint green.
The record clerk flipped through papers, frowning slightly. Their earlier form had listed unscented. The questions kept coming. Who wakes up first each morning? Who opens the door when someone knocks? What kind of sofa is in your living room? What dish does the wife cook best? Describe the most recent trip you took together. With each question, Anya's pulse quickened. She knew there were gaps in her memory, but each time, Chris's glance steadied her. His look wasn't a warning, it was an assurance. Midway through came the separation round. They led them into different rooms.
Mrs. K, tell me, on your first night after moving in, which room did you sleep in?
The pressure closed in. Anya inhaled slowly.
The east bedroom, left of the window. Grey curtains. A bedside lamp.
Outside, Chris was asked the same set of details. Their stories had to align, every small truth a thread keeping their case from unraveling. When they were brought back together, the officer closed his folder.
Thank you both for your honesty. Your case will be reviewed, and you'll receive a notice within 30 days.
They walked out, drained but upright. There was a faint gleam in Anya's eyes, a mix of exhaustion and relief. Chris placed a hand on her shoulder.
You did great.
If they could see the way you look at me, maybe we wouldn't need papers at all.
Brooklyn, late afternoon. Rain began to fall. Thin and cold, as if the sky itself were waiting for a verdict no one could see. Anya and Chris stepped out of the USCIS building without a word. Anya walked slowly. Puddles spread beneath her feet like memories that refused to dry. Chris opened the umbrella, holding it above them both. They stood together on the granite steps, the crowd flowing past, unaware that these 2 people had just wagered their entire lives on a single nod from the government. Rocky wasn't here. Letitia wasn't either. Just 2 silhouettes and the sound of rain.
We're done. At least the testimony part.
The paperwork part, the legal part.
And the part that isn't legal.
She turned to him. Her eyes glistened, unclear if from the rain or something breaking loose inside her. Chris looked at her for a long moment, then lowered the umbrella, letting them both get soaked.
I don't care if they believe us. I know I love you.
Anya froze. Her eyes widened. Her hands trembled, not from the cold. She didn't speak. Chris went on, voice tight but steady.
At first I thought I was helping you for some other reason. You were strong, alone, and I wanted to fix something. But then I realized I needed you more than you needed me. Not for a visa. Not for some idea of saving someone. Because every time you smile, I want to keep that smile for the rest of my life.
The rain grew heavier. People rushed under awnings. Umbrellas bloomed across the street. But the two of them stayed. Small figures in a world that didn't wait.
What if I get deported?
Then I'll go with you.
You'd give up everything. The apartment. Rocky.
I'll take Rocky. The apartment can go, but you're not replaceable.
Tears broke free. Anya fell against him, as if the rain itself had finally dissolved the last wall between them. Chris held her close. No pretending, no lines to rehearse. There were no rings, no proposal. But under that Brooklyn rain, they both understood. They didn't need a piece of paper to prove it. They just needed to stand, together. The first morning of winter, cold light streamed through the reinforced glass, drawing pale stripes across the wooden floor. The apartment felt quieter than usual. No doorbells, no rush of passing cars, only the slow, steady ticking of the wall clock, as if it were counting down to something. Anya woke early, her heart fluttering more than most mornings. She slipped into a thin sweater, still unsure if the life she'd been living was real or just a long dream. In the kitchen, the air was rich with the scent of dark coffee, Chris's doing. The cup on the counter still steamed faintly, carrying a soft bitterness. On the table lay a plain white envelope, no seal, no stamp, no decoration, resting among the scattered papers they'd kept since those long months of filing. Anya stared at it, heart tightening. Chris entered, just as her fingers brushed the edge of the envelope.
I was about to ask, did you open it yet?
She shook her head, eyes glassy. He pulled out a chair, sat beside her. They exchanged a look, wordless, before Chris tore the envelope open and slid out the letter. Across the top, bold italics, USCIS. Notice of approval. Below it, the words, "This is to inform you that your petition for a marriage-based adjustment of status has been approved. You are now recognized as lawfully wedded spouses under U.S. immigration law. Please retain this notice for your records as it serves as proof of your legal status." Anya's hands trembled as she held the paper. Her heartbeat quickened, not from fear this time, but from the sudden weight of hope turning solid in her chest.
They approved it.
Chris placed a hand on her shoulder. His eyes glistened, his voice rough but certain.
We were honest. We were real.
Tears broke free, not from pain, but relief. 2 warm lines rolled down her cheeks, soaking into the collar of her sweater. Chris wrapped his arms around her from behind, pressing her head gently against his chest. From the living room, Rocky padded out, tail wagging softly. He barked once, as if to join in the quiet celebration. Chris bent down to rub his head, smiling through the blur in his eyes. Anya lifted her face to him.
Now it's official. But in my heart, it's felt like we were married long before this.
Exactly. Paper just confirms it. What we built, that's the part no one else can see.
They sat together in the small kitchen that no longer felt small. Sunlight warming the walls, coffee steaming between them, 2 hearts no longer wagering but resting safe and sure. Chris placed the notice of approval neatly on the table beside the framed photo of Anya's mother, and their own small family picture. Anya looked at the letter, then at the frame.
Mom, look. Now you'll know I'm not alone.
Chris reached for her hand.
And from now on, your heart stays here, with me.
2 weeks after the USCIS approval letter arrived, Anya received a call from her sister in Kiev. Elena, her older sister, had been hospitalized with severe pneumonia. Her condition was stable, but would require long-term care and someone to stay by her side. They talked in the living room. The soft amber light cast over the photo hanging on the wall, the one of Anya and their mother standing in a wheat field when Anya was 16. Her voice faltered as she ended the call.
I have to go home for a while.
I know.
She looked up, surprised.
You know?
You always stare at that photo whenever you've been quiet too long.
She lowered her head. Chris stood and opened the drawer, pulling out a folded packet of papers. Plane tickets, her name printed clearly. Destination, Kiev.
I booked them, just in case. I didn't know if you'd go, but I didn't want you to worry about one more thing.
Anya looked at him, then at Rocky. The old dog curled up near the heater, eyes half closed, tail flicking once as if he understood.
Will you be okay?
I've got Rocky, the apartment, the memories, and some kind of hope, whatever form it takes.
Early morning at JFK. The air carried the metallic chill of rain and the echo of loudspeakers. Anya rolled her suitcase, backpack slung over her shoulder. Chris walked beside her in silence. Rocky hadn't been allowed inside the terminal. Chris had asked a friend to look after him, but the dog had barked wildly when he saw her in her travel coat. At the security gate, Anya stopped.
I'll come back. I still have work and papers to keep up with. But
I know.
I can't promise everything will stay the same when I return.
And I'm not waiting for promises. I'll just keep the apartment as it is, the way it looks, today.
She nodded. No tears. But the hug they shared lasted longer than any goodbye should. It was real, timeless. Neither checked the clock. Anya turned and walked toward the gate. She didn't look back. But Chris stayed there, eyes following her until the crowd swallowed her silhouette. When she finally disappeared through the doors, he turned away. Slowly. His steps felt heavier, as if some invisible part of her still lingered in the air, in the breath between moments, in every small corner of the apartment they had once called temporary. And now, a chapter of their lives. Brooklyn, late July. The sky was a soft blue, sunlight spilling through the trees and scattering gold across the old wooden steps. Chris bent to collect the mail, his hands still streaked with paint from fixing the balcony rail. Amid crumpled envelopes and a Korean restaurant coupon, one small cream-colored envelope sat quietly. No logo, no printed stamp, just a single handwritten line in the corner. To C. His pulse faltered. For a few seconds, his fingers froze. Then, almost instinctively, he tucked everything into his jacket pocket and climbed the stairs to the third-floor apartment. He didn't open it right away. He set it on the dining table beside a half-melted glass of ice water and Rocky's old collar. He showered, changed clothes, made a cup of black coffee, straightened the bookshelf. He kept busy, stretching time thin. But in the end, he sat down across from the envelope as if facing a chapter he wasn't sure he was ready to read. He opened it slowly. A thin sheet of paper, folded once. The ink smudged faintly where fingers had pressed. No greeting, no signature. But the voice, the rhythm of the words, was hers. I still keep the ring. If you still keep the blind dog, and still keep a place at the kitchen table for someone who brews tea but never finishes it, then maybe, when winter comes, I'll come back. No promises, no dates, no I love you, no I miss you, just a space left open, not to be filled, but to be kept. Chris set the letter down, his eyes tracing the handwriting like a map that led nowhere but memory. Then he stood and walked onto the balcony. The evening wind carried the scent of fresh cement and lavender from the apartment below. The scent Anya once said, "Smells like my mother's backyard." He didn't call, didn't look for flights, didn't ask anyone if she'd really return. He did only one thing, wiped clean the wooden chair across from the table and placed a steaming cup of tea upon it. Rocky lay near the door, eyes closed, but one ear turned toward the entrance. No soundtrack, no dialogue, just a Brooklyn afternoon stretching long across the wooden floor. And two people who once lived here, once loved here, each now holding half of an unfinished sentence. Thank you for listening to the story. If you have any thoughts, feel free to share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Once again, I'm really happy to have you here. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep sharing more stories about life together. Take care and see you next time.